Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Creative Careers, where we interview folks from all over the place working on all different kinds of arts. And today we are interviewing a voice actor. Welcome to the show, Mike Queller.
Hello. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start off with just the basics. What do you do? What is a voice actor's job, and what is maybe what it looked like for you specifically?
A voice actor's job is to audition. Just audition, 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 and then sometimes you get cast. But basically, whenever what a voice actor does is a lot of people like you'll go around and somebody will say, "Hey, what do you do?" And I say, "I'm a voice actor," and they say, "Hey, I can do a funny voice too." And it's like it's not about funny voices. It's about acting, but without using your body. Like voice acting is acting using your voice, which is like duh. But you have to be able to convey the emotion of the moment, and this is just I'm just saying everything with more words. You have to convey the emotion of the moment and whatever's going on with only your voice. Like, so you have to it's more than just doing a funny voice. You can't just go funny voice. You got to be able to get the correct emotion, and it's got to be the correct amount of emotion. You can't go too far, you can't go too little, otherwise it just doesn't quite work.
Yeah, the acting part has got to be in there.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us a little bit about how you got here. When did you first become interested in voice acting, and what did you do to start making that something you could do?
I didn't actually I have been my road to voice acting started probably with a podcast that I was not even a part of. This is a very How I Met Your Mother length answer to this question here. But I was listening to a podcast called the Classic Tales podcast, which is just weekly readings of classic literature. And I was an editor. I was like the editor. I edited every week. I edited the episode and sent it back to the guy, and he would upload it. And I was kind of bouncing ideas off of him. And I was like, "Hey, have you ever considered doing just like a little offset of it that's just like weird fiction? So it's just like Lovecraft and Machen and all of that." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm always interested in doing stuff like that, but I don't know if it's public domain or not, and blah blah blah." And so that idea had been kicking around in my head for 4 or 5 years before I decided, you know what, I'm going to do that podcast. So I sat down in my kitchen with a just a low rent microphone, no pop blocker, like no sound quality, no treated space, just recording in my kitchen, trying to keep my cat quiet as I'm recording these stories. And I didn't process the sound. I barely edited it, because I was like, I don't have anything going on with this, so I'm just going to upload it, and whatever happens is what happens. And from there, I would get these stories going, and I would actually perform the stories. So, if somebody had a specific image in my head of that character, I would try and find the voice that fit that character. So you gotta, and then you gotta do the voice acting that comes with it. And I didn't really get into voice acting in like audio dramas or audio stuff until maybe 4 or 5 years later. And I honestly don't even remember where I first saw an audition for it. But I saw an audition for a show called The Reignition Theory. It was a alternate historical fiction about the city that was destroyed, and nobody's really sure why it was destroyed, except for this historian named Mason Cainrich, who's starting to put all the pieces together, and he interviews a bunch of different people, and that's kind of the story. It's kind of like, if you're familiar with World War Z, it's kind of like that, only about the destruction of this city. And I just threw out an audition for for two of the main male characters, and got cast as one of them. And I was like, first try, main role, awesome, I'm gonna be good at this. And then I didn't get cast in anything for a long time. But that was kind of my introduction. I made friends with the other people in the cast, And from there, and those people were all like in audio drama. So I'd start seeing audition notices and more audition notices, and I just start throwing out auditions for those. And it just kind of snowballed from there. Like the more shows I got in, the more people I got introduced to, the more audition notices I see, and then it just kind of keeps going from there. And I've done a number of things. I've had some pretty important roles. I've had 1 and 2 line roles, but that is how I got into voice acting. And I haven't ever really done anything like big, like nothing you would have seen or heard. I haven't done like, any sort of Cartoon Network or Netflix show, but the stuff I've done, I'm proud of. So
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some people who do both voice acting and other acting, but there are a lot of people who just do voice acting. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, for you, what makes voice acting, you talked a little bit about this at the beginning about really having to find the emotion with your voice, but what else do you think makes voice acting unique or maybe a good fit for particular people as opposed to stage or film acting?
Well, the main big difference between stage and film acting and voice acting is nobody sees you. You don't have to memorize the lines. And if you flub a line or if you forget a line, you just do a retake, and no one's there to. It's not like you're doing it like when you're on stage and you're going through, and if a line blanks out, good luck. You're on stage. Deal with it. I've had that happen to me on stage. It's not a fun time. Yeah, but if you're like, you're just sitting there in your recording booth and you have the lines right in front of you, and sometimes you have someone else from the show like reading with you, and sometimes you're just doing it on your own. And so you mess up and you're just like, oh, well, what? Okay, I'll just go back and do that over again. Throw in a little funny comment in case the showrunner wants to do an outtakes reel or whatever, and then you move on and you just try again. And so it's because everything is edited. It's not like you can do that on stage. And that's the main, and also there are times where I will be acting and I'll be doing stuff with my hands and I'll be doing stuff with my face, and I'll, and you get all these goofy looks trying to get this like my typical, and I don't, this sounds classist is what I'm going to say. But I'll, like, if I'm doing like a sneaky kind of sketchy character voice, I'll usually give him some sort of like, yeah, I was just coming down the street there and I thought I saw you and I thought he's up to no good. So I think if you want to stop, you ought to give me some money and then I won't say anything about that. But when I do that, my lip curls up like this. I can't control that. If I do that voice and my lip just goes automatically up and I look like an idiot. But it's not a thing you have to worry about when you're voice acting, and you can do all sorts of hand stuff and nobody's there to laugh at you because you're just recording. It's just your voice. And as long as you're not like bonking stuff around like that, that's gonna be really weird. Yeah, that's a really good wave pattern there. All right. As long as you're not doing stuff like that, it doesn't matter because you're just voice acting, and that's kind of the main difference between that. Yeah, you're not on camera. You're not in front of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the skills that you had to work on the most between that first amazing I got the lead role to being able to feel like you are consistently able to get some more work? What were some of the skills that you had to work on to really improve in this area?
It's important to note that getting consistent work is something that even the best voice actors don't do. Like I am friends with a lot of voice actors on Twitter, and I will see people who are infinitely bigger and more popular and famous than I am, who are just like, oh man, I'm in a dry spell right now. I've been throwing out auditions and haven't gotten cast, and it's really discouraging. And and I'm just like, yeah, I feel you. What is something? I'm sorry. What was the question? What have I learned?
Yeah, the actual the question. Oh, and that's a great point. But the question was, what are some of the skills that you've worked on to continue improving in this?
For me, really the main thing that I have learned that I have to do is to take time with the auditions and to figure out what I want to do before I actually do them. Like when I record for my show, or used to be when I recorded auditions, I would just sit down and then just read without having read anything. It could be a story I've never read before, don't know what it's about, don't know what happens in it. I just go, and whatever comes out is just kind of gut instinct and just kind of whatever is there. And I have figured out that you can't really do that. You can, and you might get lucky, but it works a lot better if you and it saves a lot of time on your end if you figure out what you're going to do beforehand and work it all out beforehand, and then just kind of get the tiny little details dialed in to get that audition right where you want it. Because you can sit there and I've had auditions. Excuse me, sorry. I've had auditions where I have sat down and read the line and I've been like, that was good. Well, no, I could, if I change it to like this over here, and then I'll read the line again and I'll be like, well, no, because then this bit over here, I need to, and then it's like 10 minutes to get a 1 minute line. And then you can just sit down and just kind of go over it 3 or 4 times, get all of the dry runs out of your system, and then record, figure out what it is. It's like rehearsal. That's what rehearsal is for. And I'm rehearsing for an audition. So that's really one of the important things that I have learned, is to just take your time with your auditions, figure out how it works before you do it, and then do it. As far as other stuff goes, like one of the things I've learned with my show, and this isn't really something you can do as a voice actor. This is, I guess this is just talking about my show, is post-processing the sound. It just makes it sound so much better and so much clearer. And like when I first started, I had a low rent microphone, no pop blocker, recording in my kitchen, and then I would edit it and upload it and done. But then I got, then you get a pop blocker, so you're not pop, 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 all over the place, and you get a nice kind of confined space with a lot of sound absorbing stuff, and everything will sound better. So that's just kind of the, so I don't know if that is important to the question or not, but that is something that I've learned, is that you want to make make your stuff sound as good as possible. That's what you should do.
Yeah, so and that it might be worth investing in the equipment and getting a space set up, and that's that's something that can be worth it if that's something you want to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. So if there's someone watching this, if there's a student watching this who thinks that sounds really cool, that sounds like something that I'd be interested in doing, what's something that they could do from home today to work on those skills, on those voice acting skills? I don't know, an exercise or an activity or something that you would recommend that they learn to kind of take them one step forward toward that?
If you, just kind of do the same steps that I do now. Just like I go to Twitter, and in the little search bar of Twitter, I type in #casting call, and then you'll just find, or #voice actors, just something that applies to that. And then usually there will be something in there for, auditions, so and you'll get a bunch of audition notices in there. Filter it by latest. Don't do most popular, because you do most popular and you get stuff from 2 years ago. But filter it by latest just to get the newest stuff up there, and then just start throwing stuff out there. Doesn't matter if you're interested in the show. Doesn't matter if it's like, oh well, this is for an anime based dating sim that I have no experience with and don't care about it. All doesn't matter. Audition for it. And the best advice that I can give you is, even if you are 99.999% sure that you're not going to be cast in this, you do not have a chance of getting cast in it, there's no way you're getting in. Why even bother? Audition anyway. Just do the best job you can and throw it out there. I can count on both. Well, I was going to say I can count on one hand, but that doesn't sound very impressive. There have been any number of times that I have auditioned for a show, 110,000% sure that's like, well, I mean, that was fun. I'm not going to get in, but there, and then I got in, and it's like, you know, so you never know. Just do your best. If the character is, if it's okay. So another important thing I've learned, and I'm sorry, I ramble a lot. This is just, I just kind of just go back and forth. But if the person that you are reading for is just what I refer to as just a dude, if it's just a guy, just do a normal voice, but make sure but focus more on the emotion and trying to get across what that person is feeling in that moment. If it's a character, like a little green alien with antennas, or if it's a villainous bad guy named Plasmo, then you can get into the voices, and you can do a villainous voice for Plasmo. But if it's just a guy who's talking to his crush and he's kind of nervous about talking to her, you're not going to do this voice because that just doesn't work. So you just got to figure out the character and then just be the character, which that sounds so stupid when I say it out loud like that. It sounds so dumb and idiotic. But
no, I think it makes total sense. You can go in thinking I'm going to play with my voice, or you can go in thinking I'm going to be this character, and one might come up with more fun voices, but they might not be the right fit for the story at all.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you do a casting call, the casting call will say you can do up to 2 takes, you can do up to 3 takes. And what I have found is always try to find a reading of the line that is different from what you would expect from that line. So for instance, you get like a military general, and the immediate image you get in your head of a military general is kind of a big older guy, sort of muscular, crew cut. And when he talks, he kind of talks like this because he's a military general, and this is how military generals talk. But everybody knows that's how military generals talk. So maybe don't do that voice. Maybe try just something different, like, all right, men, we are about to go out into battle, so I want to make sure that everybody knows exactly what they're doing. You just want to try to do something that's not, normal, which I'm not sure is the right way to put it, but that's what I've got in my head right now.
Yeah, so. Think outside the box on that.
Yeah. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your expertise and your journey, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. So.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to come back on the second Tuesday of next month for another Let's Be Creative video. We'll see you then.